Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second evening session of the Connections Conference. We have a great night in store for us. My name is Laura Poinkowski. I am the Office of Individual and Family Affairs Administrator at Mercy Care, and I just wanted to go into a little bit about the Office of Individual and Family Affairs. I also have Isha and Cami here on the phone, who are both advocates within the Office of Individual and Family Affairs. Our office really helps to assist with system navigation, member and family member advocacy, putting on events for empowering, engaging, and educating our members, and also oversight of peer and family support services, which are great services that really support our community. Our belief is that members and families have a choice in the services that they receive and have a voice and valuable input to contribute to the system. And if you want to engage with Oyfa anymore, you can always reach out to us at oyfateam@mercycareaz.org. Additionally, another way to stay connected to Oyfa is through joining the Oyfa newsletter. There's a couple different ways that you can sign up for this newsletter. You can text message Oyfa list to 22828. You can subscribe at the link that you should just put in the chat, the bit.ly/Oyfa news, or you could use your camera to take a picture of the code using the QR code that's on the screen. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. You can unsubscribe to the newsletter at any time, but it really keeps you aware of a lot of things that are going on in the community, not just at Mercy Care, but just in our community overall. So thank you guys. Mercy Care is very pleased that we will be implementing this evidence-based practice that was designed by Pat Deegan and Associates called Personal Medicine Coaching. This conference is really an opportunity for us to kind of show you about this initiative, have you learn more, and see kind of what's upcoming for the ACC REBA. So this training will start in August and it'll end by around the end of 2023. And our hope is that we have over 300 staff trained, hopefully the rehab specialists, adding a personal medicine goal to the ISPs, or individual service plans, which is the longer version of that acronym. And now with that being said, I'll turn it over to Andy to introduce our presenters.
Hey everyone, super excited to welcome Missy Rufo for this evening session. A little bit about Missy. As PDA's Director of Content and Program Development, Missy has the opportunity to work with customers all around the world, providing coaching, technical assistance, and support. She works with the team to develop the content and training materials used to support everyone using Pat Deegan's recovery approach. Missy has used Common Ground and Pat's recovery approach in her own work as a psych rehab practitioner for many years and has seen firsthand the impact it has had on providers and service users, bringing them together to work more collaboratively and amplifying the voice of the user. So with that, welcome Missy.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to everyone at Mercy Care for inviting us from Pat Deegan and Associates to join you for this conference. I will be 100% transparent. I'm on the East Coast, so it is 8:30 at night here and very close to my bedtime. So I'm trying to keep myself going. So I'm very excited to be here with you this evening. I know for some of you who may have participated in our earlier workshops, Pat was with me. So it's just me tonight, but we're going to be diving a little bit deeper. So last time we met, we talked about what personal medicine is. Pat shared kind of how she stumbled into personal medicine through that Sony Walkman all those years ago as a way that she found that helped her to manage her distressing voices. And it kind of springboarded her into her recovery. She found something that she could do for herself that helped her. It wasn't something that her doctor told her, or her therapist, or a family member, or a friend. Everybody was really focused with Pat on, taking your meds, reducing stress, and that's going to keep you out of the hospital. And when Pat discovered through her own agency, she looked within herself and discovered that listening to her pre-mixed tapes on her Sony Walkman was really helping her to manage those distressing voices. And it was really kind of a really big point in her recovery to get her making bigger steps. So just want to, and I'm sorry, and then after that, we spent some time learning more about the study she did with the folks in Kansas, and we introduced the personal medicine worksheet so that you all could spend some time to discover your own personal medicine. And I hope you all had some time to do that. It would be great if anybody was interested in sharing that. You can feel free to put it into the chat or to raise your hand. I know we don't have a super large group, so I love to be interactive. So if people have questions, please at any time raise your hand, type into chat, and somebody can read that out. Please feel free to interrupt at any point and ask me questions because I'd much rather engage than just be a talking head. So with that, I will start sharing my screen and get us started. Make sure I have the right one. And so, as I said, our topic today, this evening, is kind of part 2 of personal medicine, the power of personal medicine, and moving through challenges today. So you all learned about personal medicine and spent some time discovering your own personal medicine. One of the other tools that we have in our plethora of personal medicine tools is something called personal medicine cards, which we're going to learn about today. So I just want to take a quick recap though, and some of the things that we learned about the other day, or if you didn't make it to that presentation the other day, want to just be able to share with you a little bit more about personal medicine. So as I said, Pat discovered this many, many years ago, early in her recovery. And when she was doing some research with folks at the University of Kansas, she spent a lot of time talking to individuals. And her goal in talking to them was learning about how they use medication in their recovery. And to her surprise, people spent a few minutes talking about their pill medicine and how they used it and how they supported them. But what she was kind of floored to discover and to hear from them was, for the next 50 minutes or so of the interview, they spent time talking about the things that they did that were medicine. Which was, as I said, pretty shocking to Pat. In a very medical model type of world back in the 90s, early 2000s, she had really anticipated people just talking about meds, people just having received that message of take your medicine, go to treatment, avoid stress, just as she did. But she was really floored to hear some of the things that folks shared with her that they were doing for themselves. And what was even more powerful is that folks discovered these things on their own. Again, nobody told them to do it. Nobody suggested to them to do it. Joe from Kansas, who was a farmer in a rural town, discovered on his own that sitting down and doing complex math problems at his kitchen table helped him when he started to feel like he was going into a manic episode. Helped him to slow down his thinking, to control some things, feel more in control, and get some sleep. So from all of that work that Pat did, and in one of her first papers, she summarized personal medicine to be these self-initiated, non-pharmaceutical self-care strategies that serve to give us meaning and purpose in life, and that help diminish our stress. And so help diminish our stress, I think makes a whole lot of sense, right? You hear medicine is going to help me to feel better, to take away a symptom, to take away some pain, to diminish some stress. But what I really love about this definition is the things that give us meaning and purpose in life. I think that is so, so powerful. So this gentleman, Simon, who Pat talked about the other day, caring for his dog is the reason that he gets out of bed every morning. It helps him to connect with others in his community. It helps him to get out and not feel isolated. And by caring for his dog, it was powerful personal medicine for him. So people can really find things that give them meaning and purpose, a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And for some people, that's really hard to come up with. It's really challenging and it's a really big question. What do I do that gives my life meaning and purpose? And this idea that Simon had that, getting me out of bed in the morning. My little dog gets me out of bed in the morning because I need to take care of him. And in doing that, I get to be outside. I get to breathe in the fresh air. I get to be a part of my community and talk with others and get some exercise. So it's a really powerful, powerful thing. Pat also talked about personal medicine being the smaller things that we do that help us to get well and stay well. And so this sometimes for folks, this is a lot easier when you start to think about personal medicine, something that is maybe some of the smaller things I do. So something like gardening, putting my hands in the soil helps me feel connected to nature. It helps to ground me. Breathing in the fresh smells and the air helps me to feel calmer and brings me peace. Those are really powerful things that this lady said about gardening and how it helped her to manage some of her past trauma. I want to point out too that there is no size limit to personal medicine, right? So sometimes if you're thinking about what's my personal medicine and I just can't come up with anything, the smallest little thing can help. And so what I often say to folks who are having a hard time saying what's my personal medicine is, hey, let's walk through your day. What's the very first thing you did this morning when you got up? Okay, you got in the shower. How did you feel after you got out of the shower? And 9 times out of 10, people are going to say, oh, you know what? I felt better. And tell me more about that. And so even if we can't think of, if people are feeling really, really challenged or really, really struggling with something and having a really hard time identifying a personal medicine, thinking about your day. What do I do? What's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning? And going through each activity that you do and thinking about how that helps you. That can really be a powerful way to get things rolling, right? So being able to get up in the morning, take a shower, wash off, whatever happened to me yesterday, start my day feeling fresh and awake. That's powerful personal medicine. So remembering that personal medicine can be anything from the little small things we do each day just to get by to those really big things that give us meaning and purpose in our lives. Another thing that Pat talked about is the power of the things that we do to change our biochemistry, right? So it's pretty well known that even if taking a Tylenol is going to help me, if I have a headache, I take a Tylenol, it helps my headache to go away. I know that there's going to be an effect, that medication is changing something in my brain, something in my body to help me to feel better. Personal medicine is the same way. Many things can change our biochemistry, right? There are things that we do, like laughter, right? Think about when you've had a really bad day. You sit down with a loved one or a friend or watch a funny show on TV and how laughter can really change your mood, how laughter can change your biochemistry. Giving somebody a hug, like in this image here, this man holding his adorable little baby. I mean, just looking at that changes my biochemistry, right? I can feel it in my heart just seeing the love in this embrace in this image. Love can change our biochemistry. We all know exercise can change our biochemistry. Going out and taking a walk, taking a brisk walk, engaging in some lifting weights if we're feeling angry to help us get out some of that pent up anger. Exercise can change our biochemistry. Friendship, talking with our friends when we're feeling down, when we're feeling sad, when we're feeling upset. Just talking with people and talking with loved ones and getting support can change our biochemistry. So this is a really, really important thing to remember, right? Pills are one thing that can change our biochemistry, but all of the things that we do, all of our personal medicine that we intentionally engage in every single day that help us feel better are changing our biochemistry. And I think it's a really, really powerful message. And it reminds us that we don't have to look outside of ourselves for the answers, right? I don't have to look to a pill to to treat my depression all the time. I don't have to look to a therapist to give me some coping strategies. I don't have to look to my husband to tell me, hey, you need to go do this to feel better. When we discover and utilize our personal medicine, we can learn to look within ourselves and to really, discover that healer within ourselves. And it's a really powerful thing. I also want to reflect a little bit on, and we're going to go a little bit deeper too beyond what Pat talked about, but this idea of the medical model, right? So we know that the mental health system, when Pat was doing her interviews years ago, when she discovered for herself that her personal medicine was listening to her Sony Walkman to help her voices, she was in a mental health system that wasn't recovery oriented, right? Wasn't supporting her in taking those next steps. They were focused on maintaining her in the community and keeping her out of the hospital. And the same went for a lot of the folks that she talked with in Kansas in the late 90s and early 2000s. And it's so powerful that all those folks and that Pat discovered these things on their own, because almost none of them had been told by their team about personal medicine. And they had not told their team members that they were using personal medicine, right? So Joe was using complex math problems when he was starting to feel ramped up, but he never told that to his doctor. He never told that to his team. And that is such a powerful thing, right? So we always say that there are two experts in the room. If I'm meeting with a therapist or a doctor or a case manager, that person is an expert in their discipline. Doctor is an expert in medicine. A therapist is an expert in multiple ranges of treatment options. Case managers, I don't know how they all do what they do, but they are experts in so many things. So they're an expert in the room, but I'm an expert in me. And when we can help people recognize that through the use of personal medicine and support them in starting to use personal medicine and sharing that with their team, it helps us all to get on the same page. And I know that this is a really important thing that Mercy Care wants to do. That's why they are sponsoring and supporting certified personal medicine coaching. That's why they're talking about every member who's receiving services will have personal medicine as a part of their ISP, because it helps the team understand what matters most to the person. And that's something that Pat never had, that a lot of those folks never had, that nobody ever said, what do you already know how to do that helps? And that question is so vitally important, because for us personally, asking, what do you do? It gives us agency. It helps us to grow. It helps us to build our confidence. It helps us to see there's something good from within me, right? I have a healer inside of me. And I don't have to look outside of myself for the answer all the time. So whether you are on this call as a provider or a family member or a peer or an individual member receiving services, asking that question, what do you already know how to do that helps, is such a powerful way to start the conversation. So many times people walk into mental health services and we focus on what's wrong or what happened to you, and never, what are you doing to help yourself? And that really shifts things, right? So if I walk into, a service provider, and the first thing in my intake is all about what happened to you, what went wrong, why did that happen? I'm really focused on kind of all the bad. That's why I'm here, right? But if we shift that conversation to what do you already know how to do that helps, or what is going right with you, and starting from helping me vocalize my strength and using that strength or using that personal medicine as one of the primary parts of my treatment. It's really, really a powerful thing. So another really powerful thing is finding that right balance. We never say personal medicine is going to replace pill medicine, is going to replace treatment. We know that there is value in all of that. We want to give folks all of the tools that they want and that work best for them to get and keep the life they want. So we always say, when it comes to pill medicine and personal medicine, we want to work really hard to support folks in finding that right balance. Because when we can find that balance between the things that we do, our personal medicine, and the things that we take, our pill medicine, that is the pathway into recovery for so many people. We have to be really aware and communicate with our team what our personal medicine is so that they know. We want to make sure that those things are in balance, because if our personal medicine and pill medicine are out of balance or not working together, the chances of us stopping using or decreasing either of them is much, much higher, right? So if my pill medicine is getting in the way of me taking care of my child, chances are I'll decrease my pill medicine or stop my pill medicine because I need to be a mom and take care of my kid. And so we have to support folks, and we have to, if we're the person in the seat, we have to be able to say, hey, this is my personal medicine. This is what matters to me. My pill medicine is getting in the way. So for instance, this image here of a father and a son is really powerful, right? You can see the love, you can see the connection that is happening there. So if taking care of his son and making sure he gets on the school bus each morning is part of his personal medicine because it helps him to get out of bed, to feel valued, then his team should know this, right? I have to be able to share that with my team. If the pill medicine he's taking is making him feel so tired and groggy in the morning that he can't get out of bed and do his personal medicine, then pill medicine and personal medicine are out of balance, right? So being able to be open and sharing this with the doctor and the team and asking them to work together with him on addressing this is the first step in finding that right balance. So, we say this all the time. People don't stop taking medicine just to stop taking medicine. There's usually a reason. There's a side effect. There's something that it's getting in the way of. And so if we can really use our personal medicine and share it and find our voice to bring that to the table and work with the doctor, work with the team in helping us to find that balance together. It really can make such a powerful, powerful difference. Because the other thing is a lot of times side effects that you may be experiencing from medication that might be getting in the way, it might not be that hard to adjust them if we bring that to the attention of our doctor. So being able to go in and say, hey, this medicine is really helping me in this way, but it's really interfering with my ability to use my personal medicine. And I want to figure that out together. Only I know what it feels like in my body to be able to express that to the doctor. Lots and lots of people take the same medication and are affected by it in different ways. So by being able to bring that up and share it with the doctor and working together on a plan to make things better will be more effective. Another thing I want to just kind of focus on too is that this idea that personal medicine is dynamic. And I touched upon this really briefly when I was talking about the worksheet the other day. But we say this a lot, personal medicine is dynamic. And what I mean by that is it changes, right? So we're humans. We change, we grow, we go through challenging phases. We go through really great times and really bad times. And so we have to make adjustments. So our personal medicine needs to be dynamic and meet us where we are. So for myself personally, I have a lot of personal medicine. I have been using personal medicine for a very, very long time. So I have lots of personal medicine. Some of it I use every day. Every single day I get up and I go out for a walk with my dog. Helps me to get out of the house. It helps me to clear my head and to get focused in for my day. Helps me to manage my weight, and it helps me to keep my blood pressure in check, which are all really important things to me. But I also have personal medicine that I use more like a PRN, right? So as needed. So if I'm feeling a little extra anxious or challenged in some way, I have special PRN medicine that I'll use if I need to. So it's really powerful and really important for us to have different personal medicine and to constantly be thinking about it, to be reflecting on how it's working for me, and to be adjusting it. Personal medicine that I used 10 years ago is not the same personal medicine that I use today, because as a human, I have grown, I have changed, I have aged. And some of the things that I used to do, I can't do anymore or just don't work for me anymore. And that is okay. So thinking about personal medicine is this dynamic journey and using it throughout our journey and adjusting it. You know, we also say that personal medicine, we should absolutely always be reflecting on it and how it's working for us. But that, you know, as seasons change, we need to change, right? So I live in Pennsylvania. So in the summertime, I have personal medicine that I use that I can't use in the wintertime, right? So sure, in Pennsylvania in the summertime, I can go swimming in the lake, I can go swimming at the beach. But in the wintertime, I am not getting in the icy cold water to go for a swim. So it's really important that, you know, as my life changes, as the seasons change, that I am thinking about some new things that I'm doing to help me and to add to my toolbox of personal medicine. So once we discover it and put into action, we always have to be adjusting it. And we learn more and we find new things that help us. It's not like this one and done thing, like, okay, I discovered my personal medicine today by doing the worksheet, I'm done now. It's not. It's this really powerful process that continues to grow and change with us. So again, you know, if it's not working for us too, think about too, you know, how sometimes after a while our pill medicine, whether it's for our physical health or our mental health, needs to be adjusted, right? You hear people say all the time, my doctor's tweaking my meds just to get it just right. Same thing with personal medicine. We can tweak our personal medicine to get it just right. And so we're always kind of thinking about that. What can we do? What's working? What's not? What can I change or adjust? What do I need to get rid of because it's just not good for me anymore, or find something completely new. And then finally, before we jump into the cards, I want to talk a little bit about the importance and connection of personal medicine in other areas of our life, right? So I mentioned that my personal medicine of walking every day, you know, helps me get out of my house and clear my head and feel refreshed. But it also helps me with some of my physical health goals, keeping my weight down, managing my blood pressure. Those are really important things. So personal medicine can work for just our mental health. It can work for our mental health and our physical health. It can work for just our physical health. And so to share a story about my how I discovered that walking was helping my blood pressure was several years ago. I was at my doctor's appointment and just a regular checkup, and my blood pressure was really high and consistently high. She checked it a bunch of times throughout my appointment. She had me come back in at another time. She tried to calm me down, and my blood pressure was still really high. And I really did not want to take medicine. I did not want to take blood pressure medicine. I was young. I thought that that was a terrible thing to have to take blood pressure medicine when I was young. It's my own personal stigma. And I just didn't want to do it. And luckily my primary care doctor said, okay, well, let's see what else we can do. And we started talking about things that we could do and I could do to help myself. And that's where physical walking and exercise helped me to avoid going on blood pressure medicine. And so many, many years later, my blood pressure is still really good. I'm still not on medicine, which I'm very happy about as I continue to get older. And so we can use personal medicine for our just physical health as well, right? Thinking about, rehab. If I hurt my shoulder and going to rehab and exercising and engaging in exercises, that's me doing the work to heal my body. We can use personal medicine in other areas, right? Our spiritual health, to feel more connected to God, to feel more connected to my higher power. We can use personal medicine for our social health, right? Getting out of my house and going to the coffee shop helps me to make connections with other people. We can use personal medicine for our social health. We can use personal medicine for financial health, right? Anything in our lives, anything we're feeling challenged by, personal medicine can help us with that. And so recognizing that, it's not just a mental health thing. Yes, it was born through the lens of mental health recovery, and it's a huge component of many people's mental health recovery lives. But there are other areas of our lives. We are a whole person. We are not, our mind and body are not disconnected. We're all one being. And what affects our physical health affects our mental health and vice versa. So always kind of keeping an eye to what are the things that we're doing to support ourselves in all areas of our life, not just our mental health and our challenges. I want to introduce you to something, a new tool, right? So we talked about the worksheet the other day that really helped you to kind of look at what you're already doing and recognizing what you're already doing that's helping. Another one of the tools that we have are personal medicine cards. And as you can see here, we have currently 16 categories of personal medicine cards. We have cards for anger, for anxious feelings, for concentration, managing distressing voices, effective communication, feeling depressed, food cravings, grief, harm reduction, negative thinking, oppression, self-harm, sleep, trauma, troublesome beliefs, and worry. So that's a lot. But what you'll notice is that these are, hopefully you'll notice that these are not framed from the lens of a diagnosis or just a symptom. They are framed in challenges that we all can experience at any time. I do not have to be diagnosed with major depressive disorder to feel depressed. I do not have to be diagnosed with, an anxiety disorder to experience anxious feelings. We've been living in some hectic world the last couple of years, and I'm sure that our anxiety levels and anxious feelings overall have doubled. So we try to approach our personal medicine cards from the view of these are challenges that anybody experiences at any point in their lives, and they are not designed to be managing a symptom or a diagnosis. So typically, each of the decks of cards we have contain anywhere from 15 to 20 personal medicine cards, plus a blank card. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. And so these cards are really great ways to help us find some new things or to try some new things. So the really, really important thing about personal medicine cards is that they come from the wisdom of the lived experience. These are not DBT strategies or CBT strategies or any other kind of therapeutic milieu strategies. These are things that people who have experienced these challenges have found that work for them, and they've shared them with others. So they are coming from this journey of the lived experience, which is really, really helpful and powerful. So I want to take a look and talk to you about what the cards look like before I go into some examples of how you can use them. This is an example of one of our anxious feelings cards. You see there's a dotted line down the center, and that's for any of you who may be, physical paper pencil kind of folks. You can cut this card out, fold it, And the left side of the card is the front of your card, and the right side of the card becomes the back of your card. So they're all structured in that same way. On the left side or the front of your card is a generic strategy that somebody has found helpful, right? So a lot of these came from Pat, but a lot of them came from the work that she did in talking with folks about what they do to help and support their recovery. So the generic basic strategy of this one is refocus on things I can control. So when we are feeling anxious, we often worry about the things that are out of our control. Refocusing on what we can control in a situation helps us feel less anxious. So if you think about peer support and sitting down in a peer support group or a support group where folks are talking about things that they do for themselves to manage some anxious feelings, this is something that somebody might share. So that strategy is really great. It's a great idea if I want to start there. The powerful part of it and the personalization part of it happens on the back, where I have an opportunity to personalize the card, right? So when I'm anxious about something I have no control over, I say to myself, and you can write in what it is you'll say to yourself when you're feeling your anxiety is out of control, and what you might have control over. There are options that you can check off, right? I will refocus on my breathing, on how I can get support in this situation, on what I can control in this situation, my reaction to the situation, or any other idea I may have. And then I want to really take some time before that last question of does it work for me, take some time to plan how I'm going to use this, right? So all of these cards are available in English and Spanish, and they also are form fillable. So if you're not a paper pencil person, you're able to type into these cards and check off the boxes of what works for you. If you are a paper pencil person, maybe you want to cut it out, carry it with you, and keep it in a place where you might feel that this might happen, right? If I'm feeling really anxious, somewhere I might feel anxious? Well, for me, I keep my personal medicine cards right here on my desk. So if I feel anxious feelings kind of creeping up inside me, I can look at that card, I can focus on what my plan is on the back and do that thing. And it can help me to feel less anxious feelings. And so it's a really, really powerful thing. I say this all the time. When we're in the depths of our challenges, right? I'm in the depths of my anxious feelings. I'm in the depths of my distressing voices. I'm in the depths of my depressed mood, my depressed feelings. It might be really hard for me to say, oh yeah, Missy, go do your personal medicine of XYZ. But if I have this card in a place that I can look at it, a place where I can be reminded, then I can focus in on what that card says to help me get through that challenge. And it's a really, really powerful thing. So some other examples that work for people are taking a picture and having it on their phone, right? So most people have like an ability to put a photo or on their lock screen. Some people like to take a photo of their card, have it on their lock screen so they pick it up and they can look at it and be reminded, oh yeah, this is my personal medicine for when I'm having anxious feelings. Some people like to put reminders in their phone each day at this time. If I know that maybe in the evening, my anxious feelings start to ramp up as my day is ending, then maybe I'll set a reminder in my phone to use my personal medicine card. My colleague Allison uses an app called Remind, I think, or Habit. It's called Habit. And she puts in her personal medicine and sets times to get reminded each day to go and use her personal medicine. And it'll ask her, did you do this today? And for her, that's a really helpful way to be like, yes, I did it. And it's a little bit of accountability for herself. So there's lots and lots of ideas that work really well for people. So I always say, once you have found a personal medicine card that works for you, once you've personalized it, to really make a plan for how you're going to remember to use it. Because when we're feeling challenged, it's very easy to forget to do those things. So this is a really important way to help us be aware and reminded, hey, let me rely on myself and on my inner wisdom and use this strategy to help me get through this challenge. And then spend some time using that card to see if it works for you. And then that last question there is, did this personal medicine work for me? And you can say, yep, it helped me, and here's how it helped me. I'm going to keep using it, or nope, you know what, that actually didn't work for me. And that's okay too, right? There's no right or wrong answers with personal medicine. We're just constantly on this quest to be able to find what works best for us. So I want to share a really short video with you all. If any of you are into social media, we, a few months back, pushed Pat to join TikTok. And so this is actually one of her TikTok videos that she did a couple of weeks ago about how she uses her personal medicine card for anger. So I want to share this with you all.
Hey friends, it's Pat Deegan. I'm here in my car. Pups are in the car with me. And today I wanted to share with you the power of personal medicine in my life. I use the personal medicine cards we've developed here at PDA all the time in my life. And this is one I keep in the car. And because I really struggle with anger, and I really struggle getting angry when there's a lot of traffic. So my card that helps me deal with that challenge is called Remove My Crown. I love this card. And on the front it says, often we get angry when we think that things should go our way. For example, other drivers should never cut me off. I should be able to go to the front of the line at a restaurant, and my partner should attend to my needs first. We act entitled, like we are royalty, but maybe it's time to take our crown off. And on the back of the card, of my personal medicine card, I can customize it. So what is the crown that I'm concerned about when I'm driving and getting pissed off with traffic? Well, my crown, my entitled thought is, whenever I need to drive somewhere, traffic should part like the Red Sea to let me go first. Now you got to admit that sounds ridiculous, but the truth is I really do get irritated when the traffic doesn't part like the Red Sea in reality. So what do I do to start counteracting that angry, entitled thought? Well, I have to remove my entitled thought. I have to remove my crown. So I say to myself, traffic is not out to get me. I cannot make traffic go away, but I can leave early so I can get to my destination on time. And that's powerful personal medicine for me. I keep it here in the car, and as I head out, and if I encounter traffic, I can use my personal medicine, and I have to keep repeating it because I keep falling back into the trap. But that's okay. Progress, not perfection.
So I love that little video, and I love how Pat is a very paper pencil person. So as you saw, she had her card that she took a pen and filled out her card, and she has them at her desk as well. And so, for her, she said, okay, this is where I experienced this challenge of anger. I really like this card of removing my crown. I'm going to keep it in my car as a reminder. And so, like I said, it's so powerful, and it's such a great reminder because in our everyday hustle and bustle of life, it's so easy to forget to take care of ourselves, and so easy to forget to do the things that we know will help us. And so things like, having it with us or in a place that we're going to see it, that's going to remind us, we're going to be more likely to use it. And the more that we use it, the more likely it's going to help us and build and grow over time. So any questions about the cards before I'm going to share some examples and some stories of how people have used their personal medicine cards to support them?
I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
So one of the things regarding those personal medicine cards, and this is I saw that on Pat's TikTok after I joined after your thing. But one of the things that I was thinking of was like, how do you get in the habit of doing that? Like using your cards? Because I know that's something that I would struggle with, is like getting in the habit of using the cards and not going back to maybe old habits.
So Cami, what's something when you want to start a new habit, what's something that works for you?
maybe having my family help, like keep me accountable, like, hey, you said you were going to do this. Trying my best. But that's one of the things with like my own personal issue is, if I want to change things, sometimes I like have all these great ideas and I'm like, yes, I want to do this. And then I just don't have like that follow through
Yeah.
behind me.
And that's a human thing, right? I think we're all like that. And that's why for me, I like the physicality of the cards because I get that visual reminder, right? So like I said, having my cards that are sitting here taped to my desk, if I have personal medicine that I want to try to use before I go to bed, putting that personal medicine card on my nightstand so I see it and I remember. And it's all about having, one of the things that we do in personal medicine coaching is helping the person discover what's going to work best for them. I can offer some ideas and some suggestions. And I love that, you have family that can support you and help do some accountability with you, right? Because for a lot of us, we need that accountability, right? My coworker, Allison, that's why she likes that Habit app because it forces her to check each day. It'll ask her, did you use your personal medicine? And for her, she's like, I have to do it because it's my accountability. And at first it becomes like this, okay, it's an accountability piece, maybe like I'm checking off the box, but then starting to see over time, is it working for me or is it not working for me? Is it time for me to try something else? And so it's really personalized to each individual and finding kind of the thing that works for you. What do they say? Any habit takes you have to do it so many times to make something a habit, right? And so just trying to find what's going to work best for you.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. We do have a question in the chat. I saw, what did they say? Oh, did we put the links to the medicine cards in the chat yet? If not, let's maybe do it again because some people were asking about them.
So there's so they'll link you to the event page, right? And so there should be two different downloads. One is some of the cards I'm going to show you now that are kind of samples and filled out, and then the other ones are blank cards. So I'll show you. You're not going to get all of the cards, but you'll kind of get to see what some of them look like right now. And absolutely all the blank cards people can use. And so there it is right there for you. Were there any other questions about the cards?
No, it looks like we're good.
All right. So I want to go through a couple of examples of how people have used, and these are real stories. These are real people that we've worked with or Pat has worked with in her work, and a little bit about their story and how they used a personal medicine card. So this is a guy we're going to call Stephen. Stephen had some negative thinking that really kind of ramped up when he went to college. He was from a rural farming community, and he was concerned that his kind of small town education was not really up to snuff with the education that some of the other students at his college had received. And it seemed like once he got on campus, the floodgates of that negativity kind of opened up. He started to doubt himself and his ability to do his college work. And the more he doubted himself, the more insecure he got. And he kept thinking and saying to himself this negative thought of, I'm this stupid hick. I should just go back to where I came from. And these negative thoughts kind of swam around in his head. And they were really causing him to kind of lose his faith in being able to do this. He started to skip classes because he said, well, I'll never be able to pass these courses anyway. So Stephen, talked to a college advisor and learned about personal medicine cards for anger. And so when you look at personal medicine cards for a category, not anger, I'm sorry, negative thinking. When you look at personal medicine cards in a category, like I said, there's 15 to 20 of them. And we always say you should just pick one or two that really speak to you to try to use first. We never want to try 15 different new strategies at a time because that can be overwhelming. And to Cammie's point, how am I ever going to remember to do those things? He decided to use one of the personal medicine cards for negative thinking. He picked this one out. It's called Shrink My Inner Critic Down to Size. And it says, you can't do math, you're a loser. And most of us have an inner critic that fuels our negative thinking. Imagining our inner critic as something small or silly can really help us. So with the help of, talking with his counselor and kind of working through this card, Stephen was talking about his inner critic being somebody called Mr. Cranky Pants, and he actually drew you can write on this card, what does my inner critic look like? But he decided to actually draw a picture of Mr. Cranky Pants. And he just drew the stick figure, Mr. Cranky Pants. And he said, each time my negative thoughts come up, he would look at this card and he had this quick laugh. He said, I use my phone to take a picture of it, so I have it with me all the time. So another example of a way to be reminded. And when those negative thoughts come up, I look at my card and it just cracks me up. When I think of my inner critic as Mr. Cranky Pants, it makes me laugh. It gives me more power. And it's not magic or anything. Pat said the same thing, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And he still has his bad days. But now he has this powerful personal medicine. And he determined, so he was determined to finish college, and that Mr. Cranky Pants wasn't going to bring him down. And so Stephen has been finding this card helpful. So what he did was, as he said, he took a picture of it, Mr. Cranky Pants, and he'd pull it out anytime those negative thoughts would start to swirl around in his head. And again, laughter, kind of, we talked about earlier, laughter can change our biochemistry. It can change our thoughts. It can change the way that we're thinking about things. And then he would laugh about it. It would kind of give a little shift, and he was able to kind of put those negative thoughts aside. So he said, yes, this absolutely helped me. He said, Mr. Cranky Pants makes me laugh, which helps me find my own power over my own negative thoughts. And so that's a really powerful thing, right? This isn't somebody else saying, oh, it's okay, Stephen, you're really good. You're really, it's really good to have supporters and cheerleaders who are out there and helping us. But, we can look within ourselves and do something as simple as looking at Mr. Cranky Pants when we're having these negative thoughts. It can really be helpful in helping us to kind of get back on track. So there's an example from one of the personal medicine cards for negative thinking. Here's another example. This is Sean, and he was studying engineering at college. And his dream is to someday be a structural engineer and working on big projects like bridges and skyscrapers. However, after a certain amount of time, Sean became alarmed that police were monitoring his activity. He started to notice lots of patterns in his environment that were actually, and he thought that they were actually special messages being sent to him. So, for example, he began noticing yellow cars and black cars were warning him to get back to his dorm room quickly. And as a result of that, was spending so much of his time in his dorm room that he was not doing well in college and beginning to fail his coursework. And so Sean learned about and was working with a personal medicine coach and discovered the personal medicine cards for troublesome beliefs that might be helpful. And so they went through the cards, and he found this card really helpful. And I actually really love this card. If you've ever seen this optical illusion before, it's really, really powerful. So on the front of the card, it says, remind myself things are not always what they seem to be. No matter how many times we look at this illusion, the middle line always seems longer. But that's a false perception. All of the lines are the same length, since sometimes our brain can trick us. And you can see on the back of the card, we're really highlighting, okay, the lines are the exact same size. They're not different sizes. The arrows are pointing in different directions, but the lines themselves are the same size. And so this card helped Sean to think about, that sometimes things aren't always as they seem. And so he worked with his personal medicine coach to make a plan. When am I going to use this personal medicine card? And this is another really good visual card. And he said, when I'm noticing patterns of yellow and black cars, it could be random. The patterns might not be what they appear. And so if he pulls out his card and looks at the lines and remembers that things aren't always as they appear, it might be really helpful to him. He found that really, really helpful. He said that this personal medicine was helping him and that it helped him to calm down and feel less scared when he did see those patterns. And so again, this is a really powerful visual tool. They're not all super visual like this, but it's a really good visual tool when we're having some troublesome beliefs or some thoughts that kind of seem a little different that people might not understand. We can use a card like this to support ourselves in kind of managing that challenge and kind of getting through that belief. So the thing is like all of the challenges we experience are not going to be 24/7, 365 days a year, right? We experience negative thinking or troublesome beliefs or anxious feelings for a small amount of time. And if we can do something like this, pull out this card and focus our energy on what the card is saying and recognize that, hey, these patterns can be totally random. It can help us kind of get through that troublesome belief and back to getting the life we want. Here's another one. This is Sue. And Sue was experiencing some very harsh voices that were being negative and putting her down. She would get angry at them. But the more she shouted at them, the stronger they seemed to get. So it was like they were feeding off of her anger. So Sue was working with a personal medicine coach, and they explored together the personal medicine cards for distressing voices so that Sue could find some new strategies for managing these distressing voices that would be helpful. Because what she was doing and shouting at them is that natural response of trying to help ourselves. But for her, it wasn't working. It was amplifying the voices and making them worse. So she selected a card that I find very powerful. And there's a lot of, there's some videos out there on showing compassion for voices. And so this one says, it can be helpful to think of our voices as an early warning system, trying to protect us from harm. Seen from this perspective, voices may be trying to help us. Using our compassionate self, we can thank them for the warning and tell them we will stay safe as we go about our day. And on the back of the card, Sue spent some time thinking about what it is when she's hearing these distressing voices, what they may be warning her, and how she could be responding in a compassionate way to kind of quell those voices. So one of the things her voices warn her or say to her is, you're radioactive. And so when she hears that voice, she can say back to that voice, I'm on it, you can rest now. Another thing that her voices say to her is, keep your eyes down. And when she hears a distressing voice that's telling her that, she can have a compassionate response of, I will definitely be careful. Another one is, you suck. And her compassionate response can be, I will keep my pride in check. And so this personal medicine card actually worked really great for Sue. She said it was helpful. She used it for a while, and she said, I'm so amazed. I always thought that these harsh voices were my enemy, but really they were trying to protect me. Now they seem less like monsters and more like scared kids. I'm the grown-up. I'm not perfect, but I've come a long way, and it feels good to have some control. And so it was a really powerful card for her. This idea of compassion for your voices is something I find so fascinating, especially when it comes to distressing voices, right? We know that there's a lot of data out there that medications don't always help voices, right? Like there's always some layer of voices that may still be there that are distressing, and medication doesn't work for everybody. So the personal medicine cards and the strategies for the distressing voices are so, so powerful. There's one in particular that I absolutely love and that I have seen work, and it just shocks me. And it's to put an earplug in one ear. I worked with a gentleman who really struggled with distressing voices, and he never really told anybody, and everyone thought he was just paranoid, and he had a lot of paranoid thoughts. But the more we talked, I learned and I discovered in talking to him that he was actually, these voices were actually telling him these things that he was saying out loud. And he never actually told anybody that it was voices. And so we looked at the personal medicine cards, and he was kind of really interested in the earplug one, and he tried it out. And the thing about the earplug is they say, put an earplug in one ear, and it's usually your dominant ear. So if you're right-handed and try it in your right ear for 5 minutes and see if the voices settle at all. And if not, try the other ear for a few minutes and see if it works. But I saw such a marked improvement in him and his ability to focus in. I don't know why it works, but it works. And I think it's one of the most powerful personal medicine cards and strategies that I've seen work for people who are experiencing distressing voices. So this is a different one. This is Paco, and this is more of a physical health challenge, right? So we do have personal medicine cards for food cravings. And so Paco was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and he needed to cut way down on high carbohydrate food and sugary treats. And so when he was working with his personal medicine coach, they took a look at some of the personal medicine cards for food cravings. And he found one that he thought was funny initially, but then in deeper looking at it and talking, thought it would be really helpful. So avoid food porn. So mouth-watering pizza ads on TV at night, pictures of food on social media, baking shows, fast food billboards. These types of, quote, food porn can trigger our food cravings. Avoiding food porn is a great way to get control over cravings. Have you ever noticed you're sitting down in front of the TV and a commercial comes on, you know, and you've got like, it's in the morning and there's all these donuts being made and your mouth starts to water and you get all excited. That's food porn. And so he worked with his coach to personalize this personal medicine card. And the first question is, where do I get my food porn? And he says, well, I watch all those baking shows and I swear my mouth starts watering after 2 minutes. The cravings get really bad. So recognizing, hey, this is where this food craving might be coming from. Ways, how do I avoid food porn? And he says, well, I've been wanting to watch that new crime drama. So I'm going to watch that at night instead of my baking shows. So he's identified a way to kind of replace what's causing this trigger for him. At least in the interim, until he starts to kind of move further along in his recovery. And he tried it for a week. He said, wow, I never realized how many food commercials and food shows were in my life. I followed my card and I'm enjoying the new crime TV show. It's definitely easier to avoid temptation when I'm not watching the baking shows. But now the commercials are getting me wanting food. So I gave my food cravings I gave into my food cravings a couple of times this week, but he said it did help, and he discovered that his crime dramas don't make him hungry, so he was going to keep trying to use that one. And so again, really physical reminder. A lot of people for the food craving cards like to put them on their refrigerator. Again, part of the process of exploring our challenges is like, you know, where are my challenges occurring the most? Where are they interfering most in my life? And finding a way to integrate the cards into that piece of your life, whether it's a specific location, a specific time of day, can be a really helpful way for folks to use their personal medicine cards. This is Fantasia, and Fantasia struggled with anorexia. Therapy helped her. She was making really good progress in her recovery, but then she began to self-injure instead of starving herself. At that point, she was working with her personal medicine coach and was looking at some personal medicine cards for self-harm. And she picked an interesting one. So I want to tell you this, that all of our personal medicine cards, every single deck has a card that is named the oppression that's contributing to this challenge. Because sometimes oppression is real, right? Oppression is huge, and oppression can affect us in so many ways. It's not always about a mental health challenge or a mental health symptom. Sometimes it's oppression. And so we try to be really aware and have included an oppression card in every single deck of cards that we have for personal medicine. We actually also have an entire deck of cards for oppression that offer different strategies for people who are experiencing oppression. But sometimes things like self-harm can be a cause of oppression. So we try to be really aware of that. So racism, homophobia, poverty, sexism, and other forms of oppression can lead to deep feelings of shame and self-loathing. Harming ourselves is not the answer. Naming the oppression we experience, how it affects us, and joining with others to fight it can help. And so she found this card really powerful, and she spent some time personalizing it. She was able to identify that the oppression she was experiencing was, I've been culture bombed with a message, I am never thin enough. And lots of young women hear this and experience this, right? And kind of relate to it. She said, how it affects me is I've struggled my whole life with feeling less than because of my weight. I'm over it. I'm going to fight to end the shaming of women's bodies. And then it prompts her to look for some groups or organizations she might want to consider joining. And she found a group called the Body Positive Activism Group, which is held at the Women's Center. She wrote down when and what time it's going to be so that she can join that group. And she said it really helped her to think about her situation in a different way. She said, when I'm going through is not all in my head, right? The Body Positive Activism Group is amazing. I learned I was self-injuring because I was ashamed of my body. Now I'm helping to teach younger girls they are beautiful just the way they are. I would be a hypocrite if I self-injured while helping the girls, and I haven't self-injured in 4 months and still going strong. So yes, this card absolutely helped her. Again, reminds her she's not less than, and she's a part of an amazing community now. And so, you know, the oppression cards really help pull that lens back, that not every challenge we experience if we have a mental health diagnosis is a result of our mental health diagnosis. Oppression is real and comes in so many forms. And so when we can connect with others and find that support, it can really help us to work through it. I have one final card to demonstrate the blank card. So I told you all of our personal medicine cards have a blank card that folks can use to personalize their strategy if they can't find one in the deck that connects with them, or if they just have a new strategy they want to try out. So Keone's story is that he had a brother who passed away in a car accident, and his family held Christian burial services. At Keone's request, the family agreed to have traditional dancers, as it was a custom in his native Hawaiian culture. Following the services, he found it difficult to concentrate. He felt spacey all the time. He was having a hard time eating. And so he was working with his personal medicine coach and decided to explore some of the grief cards. But he couldn't find one that worked for him. There's a whole bunch of grief personal medicine cards with lots of ideas and strategies, and none of them really felt right for him. So the blank card was a really good option for him. And they look a little bit different, right? So on the front of the card, there's a blank space where the person or where you can write your strategy that you're going to try. At the bottom of the card, those 4 questions may look familiar from the worksheet. Is my personal medicine powerful? And you just want to go through those and make sure that your personal medicine is as powerful as possible. On the back of the card is your plan for how you're going to use it. Spend some time using your card for a little bit and then going ahead and identifying if it works. So for Keone, he said that chanting rituals helped me honor my brother in a way I think he would like. So it's reflecting on his cultural and his family background and helping him to feel connected with his brother. He goes through is my personal medicine powerful? Is it a specific activity, not a feeling or a state of being? Sure is. Chanting rituals. Is it something I do now, not a future goal? Yep, absolutely. Something I do, not something I take? Yep, absolutely. And does it say how it helps me? It helps me to honor my brother in a way I think he would like. So absolutely. So on the back of the card, he decided to write, my brother and I learned tradition Hawaiian chants when we were young. I composed the Mele Oli, and I probably said that wrong, in his honor. I do at least 1 recital a day. And so he made this plan of doing this 1 recital each day. That's going to help him to feel connected. He tried his card out for 2 weeks and he found it really helpful. He said, yeah, it actually helps me to feel connected to my people and to my brother. And I can truly grieve now in a way that feels right. And so using these blank cards is such a powerful way to kind of really personalize our own strategy as well. Again, for people who like that visual reminder, some people can absolutely come up with personal medicine that they're going to use and have a way to remind themselves. but some other people are just very visual and they like that physical reminder. So that's an option. So as I said, I think in the link that they put in there, you have access to all of the sample cards that I went through on the examples, and a blank card for all of 16 of the challenges. So you can download those, you can print them out. Let me show you what they look like. So you've got one for every category. And as I said, they're form fillable, right? So I can just type right into them. I can check off if my personal medicine is powerful. I can make my plan, and I can make a plan for using it, try it out for a while, and come back and say, hey, it worked, or no, it didn't work. And so those cards are available to you in a great way for you to start to think about, what challenge might I be experiencing, and what can I do for myself to help me to get through that challenge? So any questions? I know that was a lot of information.
Thank you so much for going through those cards like that. It was helpful, I think, to see. One thing that stood out to me was the hearing or seeing things and patterns, and how beneficial that could be, or the hearing voices one, or just very, I don't know, I just thought that was a great way to kind of look at your voices differently. And I think there's that whole inner voice model, right? That like it changes like your perception of like, hey, these voices aren't bad. They're helping me, and they're, so definitely awesome. I love that.
Yeah, they're great. And like I said, they come from the experience, the lived experience of recovery, right? So here are some ideas. And what I say is when people are really having a hard time coming up with something, right? Or I have a new challenge, right? I've never experienced challenges with distressing voices. What do? I don't know what to do. Going through and looking at some of those cards can give us some ideas of things that we can try out. We can keep track of, is it working for me? Do I feel any different? And be able to kind of do a little test on ourselves to see what works.
On the cards, can you print like a set of 2 on one sheet?
There
Is that
are,
what it looks like?
yeah, there's 2 on a sheet.
Okay, so yeah, so you can use like a stock card, because I could probably use one in my car, my home, and my backpack, and so
Yeah,
okay.
lots of people like to print them out like on a thicker piece of paper for that reason, so that they don't get worn down. I've seen some people laminate them as well to keep them, clean and fresh as well. But yeah.
Yeah, they come in different, cardstock come in different color also too, so you can get kind of creative. So that's very cool, very inventive. I have never seen anything like that, so very intrigued.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I hope they help. You're welcome.
So it looks like we have just a lot of people that are excited to use this to help others and use them for themselves and get started on this. And I can't wait for this to be a part of what we're doing here. I have a question. What if someone is adherent to wanting to use the personal medicine, and you're like, I know this will help them, I know this will help them, but they're just like, I don't like, not another thing, not another card, another coping skill. How can you help the person to see the value in that?
I think it just takes time, right? So, in personal medicine coaching, one of the things we do is we don't push people too far, right? We walk side by side with people and we just have conversations. And so when I am presented with somebody who's like that, and lots of people feel that way, don't give me one more coping skill, don't give me one more thing that I should try. I ask them, like, well, I go back to, well, what are you doing that helps? What's something you already know how to do that helps? And we build from that. Most of the time when people are at that point of like, don't give me one more thing to do, they're tired of the mental health system telling them what to do. Young folks as well, right? I feel my heart breaks for young people to go into, who are coming like, folks on like first episode of psychosis, right? Or young people who are being diagnosed for the first time. Here I am growing up, adolescence, being told my whole life by my parents what to do, by my teachers what to do, by everybody in my life what to do. And then I'm going to go into mental health services and have another person tell me what to do. And so I find some people love the cards and grasp onto them right away, and some people we just never get there, and that's okay too. You know, we offer lots of tools to help people find what works for them, and that's kind of where we go. I think the more we build relationships and help them to see the things they're already doing that helps tremendously.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to say was that I've been doing this, I don't know, 45 some years, and it was to a point where we didn't really have a choice, and now we have choices, and it's almost like overwhelming at choices, because for so long some of us have been just like, here, do this, and we don't know how to get from that point to that point. Does that make sense?
100%. Absolutely. I think it takes time, right, Laurie? Like, you want to be able to figure out what works for you and to kind of think about those things on your own.
Thank you so much, Missy, for the wonderful wealth of information. We did put the links in the chat, like we said earlier. So that is there for you. We also have them on the events page. If you, for whatever reason, didn't download the chat or didn't get the information through the chat, feel free to go to the Mercy Care website, click on events, and go to that page. And then again, our session downloads go to the Mercy Care event page, or you can use this QR code. Like Laura showed in the beginning, go ahead and take out your camera phone and hold it up to this QR code. It'll take you to our events page where you can access all of the downloads for all the previous sessions and the up and coming sessions if you want to have them ahead of time. And then Mercy Care, follow us on our social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of that. Also, again, like Missy had said in a previous session, feel free to follow Pat Deegan on all of her different social media, TikTok even she has. And so definitely feel free to do that. And we want to thank everyone for joining today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys.